Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack complex ideas, sifting through sources to bring you clear, actionable knowledge. Today we're diving into, well, a really thought-provoking set of sources. Our mission is to explore what it means to be human, the huge challenges we face, and a pretty radical vision for our future. We're drawing a lot from excerpts of a paper, Peace, Progress Out of Childhood by Fenzu Meng, and it makes some, let's say, bold claims about human nature, history, and how we need to step out of childhood.
It's certainly distinctive, full of unexpected arguments, and yeah, a very direct call to action. It really takes you on a journey.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Paper kicks off by looking at something universal. Our instinct to seek a creator or, an ultimate root for everything. It suggests that this isn't just philosophy, but something physiological built into our thinking function, something everyone grapples with.
That's right. This search for origins, whether it is for ourselves or even like a simple stone, it frames it as a theoretical certainty. And then it highlights two main ways people approach this creator idea. Well, one is through speculation, imagination often leading to sort of divine ideas. The other, which the paper presents as being for a select few, is scientific exploration, trying to understand the creator's actual plan, as the paper puts it.
Right. So after setting up this basic human drive, the paper introduces what it calls an axiom. Everything is different.
Yeah, this is fundamental to its argument. No two leaves, no two grains of sand, even down to the molecular level, everything's unique.
Even within the same category, like horns on cattle.
Exactly. Different horns, different fish scales. It's complete inherent diversity.
And the implication of that.
It's profound, according to the author. The paper states this means the creator doesn't create the same and nature doesn't nurture the same. It's just a basic principle of existence.
Okay.
But here's a striking caution the paper adds. While recognizing difference is easy, it suggests that putting special emphasis on, facing, acknowledging, or inclusion might sometimes hide other intentions.
So not celebrating difference, but recognizing it as a maybe inconvenient fact.
Something like that. It's about seeing reality clearly, perhaps without a specific agenda attached.
So if everything is different, how do we humans cope? The paper then talks about how we classify things using category indicators and general standards.
Right, like distinguishing plants from animals. That basic ability, the paper argues, led to huge steps like agriculture and animal husbandry.
And improving these indicators, these standards, made us better at it.
Precisely. Refining the accuracy led to better harvests, better animal rearing. We applied, scientific precision to crops and livestock, improving our lives immensely.
But here's where the paper draws a really stark contrast. It says, while we did that meticulously for plants and animals,
we've blindly used our knowledge when it comes to human indicators and standards.
Blindly.
Meaning imprecisely, without the same scientific rigor. And this failure, this lack of treating ourselves scientifically, is presented as the cause of, well, a bloody tragedy.
Wow. So the paper claims the ideological root of things like famines, massacres, abuses
is this fundamental failure to understand and treat humans scientifically. It's a very provocative claim.
Definitely. Okay, so how does it suggest we should understand humans scientifically? It talks about an initial state and variable range.
Yeah, think of initial state as the potential a species starts with, like its programming. Variable range is how much that can change or develop. And the paper stresses humanity's uniquely complex and advanced initial state.
More advanced than other animals.
Much more, according to this view. It contrasts humans with lower animals whose brains are described as cast in one go, basically running on autopilot. Humans, it says, need a complex developmental program to reach our highest design standard.
So what defines this higher standard? What are these unique human thinking functions it talks about?
Right, this is key. The paper identifies 5: faith function, sense of mission function, logic function, conscience function, and selfish function. These are presented as the core of who we are intellectually and behaviorally.
Okay, let's break those down a bit. Faith function
drives our exploration of the big picture, the macro world, that search for the creator we talked about.
Sense of mission function
allows us to take responsibility, even sacrifice ourselves for a cause or others.
Logic function seems straightforward reasoning, science, creating wealth.
Yes, that's the essence of it. Then there's the conscience function. This one is interesting. It's described as our innate drive for harmony and helping each other.
Which seems to contrast with that bloody tragedy view of history.
It does. It suggests our nature is harmonious, but something goes wrong. And finally, the selfish function, which is maybe obvious, but the paper frames it as necessary for individual survival and motivation, not purely negative.
Now, here's something that jumped out at me. The paper claims the faith and sense of mission functions actually increase risk to survival.
Yes, that's a crucial point for the author. It suggests these aren't just evolved traits, because why would evolution favor something so risky?
So the conclusion is,
That they must be pre-implanted and set, part of our fundamental design, not just an evolutionary accident.
and connecting this back, the paper argues these sophisticated functions prove humans are the most advanced life forms, second only to the Creator.
That's the extraordinary claim, yes. Placing humanity right below the Creator based on these inherent functions, which of course implies a huge responsibility to manage them correctly.
And yet the paper argues we've resisted doing that scientifically, leading to that really provocative statement. Rejecting general human standards looks like a conspiracy.
It's strong language. The idea is that people resist discussing the universal human standards, but at the same time, various groups, what the paper calls faith groups, and defines very broadly.
Religions, political parties, intellectuals, even celebrity fan groups.
Exactly. All these groups, the paper claims, implicitly use and impose their own standards on how people should be, how they should think and act.
Is it presented as an actual, planned conspiracy?
Not necessarily deliberate malice in all cases. The paper also calls it instinct, blindness, and ignorance. It suggests these groups get so focused on recruiting and keeping members, they don't engage with these bigger questions.
Okay.
But the paper argues, if we did apply universal general standards of mankind, it would force us to recognize the importance of the human thinking function for our well-being.
And that would lead to?
Healthier thinking functions, making people less vulnerable to manipulation by groups who, the paper claims, recruit those with abnormal faith and sense of mission.
This leads us to the paper's view of history since writing began, which is pretty bleak.
Very bleak. It's described as a history of humiliation and fratricide, humans trampling on and degrading each other, and the blame is placed squarely on these faith gangs that supposedly deform our thinking functions.
But then there's that counterargument you mentioned about the conscience function.
Right. The paper insists conflict is not our inherent nature. Our conscience function naturally leads to harmony and mutual help.
It even claims primitive humans, before writing, cooperated well and didn't have major food crises or massacres.
Yes, attributing those later problems specifically to the influence of these faith gangs. It's quite a revisionist take on prehistory and the source of conflict.
And looking at today, the paper lists the big problems: economic imbalance, pollution, employment, biodiversity crisis, and especially these fatal conflicts between nations, religions, peoples.
And again, the paper argues these faith groups are inherently divisive. They block the path to human perfection, to reaching that highest design standard, and are actually driving us towards self-destruction with WMDs. Their recruitment instinct, it claims, makes real peace impossible.
It's a heavy diagnosis.
Yeah.
So what's the proposed cure? This concept of the target society.
Exactly. It's presented not as a fuzzy dream, but an achievable goal. Humanity stepping out of childhood by tackling those two core issues, ending the faith group conflicts and ensuring our thinking functions develop properly.
How does it envision this society? What would it look like for ordinary people?
Well, it's quite detailed. The goal is for over 80% of people to have perfected their thinking function by age 18. This means mastering basic knowledge across disciplines, including specific knowledge about faith, mission, and conscience functions.
And that's where the bench example comes in. Gratitude for everyday objects.
Yes. It sounds unusual, but the idea seems to be fostering a deep, pervasive sense of appreciation and interconnectedness by activating that conscience function fully. The result, the paper suggests, is people cooperating seriously and precisely in any setting.
That's a radical shift. What about knowledge creation?
Strict rules there, too. People producing faith-functional or mission-based knowledge have to declare assumptions, explain the value. They can get government funding if it's beneficial.
But crucially,
Creating knowledge of gratitude directed at specific groups or individuals is labeled a criminal offense.
to prevent that manipulation again.
Precisely. It's about keeping these functions pure. And similar rigor applies to organizations like religions and parties. Founders need qualifications, assessments, physical, mental knowledge.
Criminal liability for starting groups based on ignorance or illness, or worshiping a fool as a leader.
That's what it proposes. And the power system itself demands staff who understand all this, understand human nature's development. A constitution would guarantee human nobility, universal suffrage, and making voters ignorant intentionally becomes a major crime.
Wow. It's a society built entirely around this specific understanding of human physiology and thinking.
Yes, and the paper insists this isn't utopia, it's a scientific result deduced from scientific theory. Noble equality for all, leading to knowledge, tolerance, harmony, peace. It compares it to scientifically managing farming.
So the billion-dollar question, how do we get from here to there?
Right, and this is where it gets really action-oriented. The paper calls urgently for finding a great person.
A great man, specifically.
The text uses great man, tasked with leading humanity out of childhood before we destroy ourselves. Not a typical historical leader, but someone focused on this specific task of human sublimation elevating us.
What's their job description, essentially?
To instantly grasp the theory, popularize it, safely adjust institutions like religions and parties without bloodshed, and quickly guide everyone into this new social framework. A tall order.
Extremely. And what's really striking is the focus on the United States. Why the U.S.?
The paper gives a few reasons. First, it claims the U.S. has the most people with the best thinking function of the time who currently lack serious purpose.
Adrift.
Adrift, making money, maybe creating what the paper dismisses as rubbish knowledge. But it believes their belief function and sense of mission can be reawakened by this challenge. Second, it cites good legal and humanistic conditions.
It actually says it's legal to do serious things in the United States.
It does, praising creativity, execution, inclusivity, tolerance, and it even suggests where to look for this person.
Right.
Major political figures, academics, religious leaders, even celebrities with large followings, a pool of maybe 1,000 people.
And if you find someone suitable,
the task is to educate them fast on this new knowledge about humans, how society needs to be based on our physiology, explain the stakes, and ask them to lead or sponsor a new science movement.
and the core message to drive home.
That achieving nobility and equality at the high end for everyone is the bottom line for peace. And this brings us to the final, quite direct appeal in the paper, aimed squarely at you, the listener.
Lobby the U.S. government. Seriously.
That's the call to action. The paper lists what it sees as transformative benefits if the U.S. adopts this new science. For citizens, radically improved security, maybe even zero crime, new employment concepts, top economic abilities,
And for the U.S. as a whole.
highest GDP, calculated differently, general standard person activity day, resistant to inflation. It becomes the locomotive of human progress, a model for global reform.
Leading world peace.
Yes, by defining its model and getting the UN Security Council's Permanent Five to adopt a law on the non-belligerence of permanent members. Violate it, you're out automatically. This, it claims, leads to nuclear disarmament.
And the ultimate outcome. America cannot be surpassed.
That's the claim. Best living conditions, leading other countries, even big ones, to want to join the U.S., abandoning sovereignty. The author is adamant. This isn't fantasy, it's a scientific result.
Just applying accurate knowledge of human thinking functions to set living conditions like farming.
Exactly. That's the core analogy. It's presented as straightforward science applied to humanity.
So there it is. An incredibly detailed, ambitious, and frankly startling vision. If this target society is just the beginning of childhood, what comes next? What heights could humanity reach? Maybe, as the paper hints, being alone with the creative forever.
It leaves you with a lot to think about.
It certainly does. What stands out most to you listening to this, and could anyone play a role in bringing about something like this? That's something to mull over.